साधुतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्णपादान् सहना श्रीशाखानां नमामि विश्वपादाय कृष्णाय पुत्रे स्वामी नामे नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी आशापदेशकारिणे नमामि विश्वपादाय कृष्णाय पुत्रे श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती नामिने वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरविषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिं। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Extremely sorry for little delay. Just came in the morning and just reached here. So the topic I was asked to speak on is cultivating dependence on the Lord. When I got this topic, I started cultivating. I was also wondering how to cultivate dependence on the Lord. So happy to be here in Bangalore at Bhakti Center. Prabhu is very well known for his preaching vigor, enthusiasm. Happy to see so many young boys, brahmacharis. So flourishing center shows the enthusiasm of all the devotees collectively performing devotional service. So this topic of cultivating dependence on the Lord, thought of speaking in 5 subsections. One is about false independence. Second is factual dependence. First is false independence. Independence is false and dependence is factual. And practically speaking, the third one is functional interdependence. And fourth is about how Krishna surely protects devotees. And fifth is about some tips to learn about cultivating dependence. So false independence, factual dependence, functional interdependence, Krishna surely protects devotees, and tips to learn or cultivate about dependence on the Lord. So about false independence, typically in conditioned soul, the material world, people like to be independent, just like people have the slogans, break free. People are sometimes as young children or as students, people when they are growing up, they must be thinking or cribbing or grudging, when will I become big? Then I will also be able to be on my own. Now I have to listen to so many people. Now I have to be submissive. Now I have to be dependent on others. But this feeling of independence, it's basically a false feeling. In one sense, the living entity cannot be independent. By nature, as we know from scriptural perspective, Jivera Swarupukha Krishna and Nityadas, the living entity's position is to be a servant. And conditioned soul is a servant of illusory energy, Maya, and one who aspires to be a devotee wants to be a servant of Krishna. The choice is not whether to serve. The choice is whom to serve. Whether you want to serve Krishna or you want to serve Maya or the illusory energy. So the conditioned nature feels a lot of somehow or other wanting to break free, become independent. But independent of what? Srila Prabhupada says that the living entity cannot become independent of the stringent laws of material nature. The adjective used is stringent. Laws of material nature are very, very, as they say, the mills of time. It may be grinding slowly, but ensures that each and every grain is finely grinded. The mills of time. So the laws of karma works like that. The laws of material nature works like that. So Prabhupada uses the adjective stringent laws of nature. Because who can escape the laws of nature? Birth happens as per the karma. And once person is born, eventually old age, disease, death, it just follows. Who is there who can escape this? There were people who made big attempts. In the modern times, it is the scientists and others who may want to try to make some attempts, entrepreneurs or many others. But in the previous times, there were big demons like Hiranyakashipu or Ravana who made a lot of attempts. Ravana wanted to make a staircase to the heavens. Staircase. And that also wanted to change the laws. Those who are impious can climb the staircase and go to heavens. That was his plans. So we are not aware that we are dealing with a trying to phase or people who are thinking of trying to become independent. There is a stringent laws of material nature. In fact, Prabhupada says the false attempt to become independent of the laws of nature is known as material advancement of experimental knowledge. And the whole material world is moving in this false attempt at becoming independent of the stringent laws of nature. The whole material world is moving at this attempt, false attempt. That's why it is a false independence. Person thinks that I can break free, but how can anyone escape the stringent laws of material nature? At the most, one may delay. If there is disease, instead of feeling pain, or there are painkillers and so many things that one may adopt in order to try to delay certain pains. But the laws of karma will ensure that it works. Similarly, the stringent laws of material, what to speak of that death. There are people who plead with the doctors, can I live for 4 more years? 4 more months? People have so much desires and they think that we can win over the laws of material nature. But the laws of material nature does not spare anyone. So Prabhupada very aptly uses this adjective of stringent laws of material nature. So the whole attempt to become independent is then in what sense can the living entity become independent? Independent means you are not dependent on anybody else, but the material nature dictates. Now you have to become old, and the living entity cannot do anything. When the hair changes the color from black to white, the living entity has no control. There may be some patch-up solutions the modern time offers. Modern scientists and cosmetic industries can offer some patch-up solutions, but even if the hair looks black, still the person is aging. Aging cannot be reduced. When someone's birthday comes, we ask how many years old are you? Nobody says how many years new are you? How many years old? So now you are 20 years old, now you are 40 years old. That means you are about to wind up. So it's aging. Who can stop aging? and what to speak of death. So this is something which is just beyond control. Just the attempt to become independent is considered to be false. So Prabhupada is very emphatic and very clear about it to say the false attempt to become independent of the stringent laws of material nature is known as material advancement of experimental knowledge. And without Krishna consciousness, one thinks that I am independent. Without the knowledge of spiritual life, one assumes or one wants to remain in that zone where he thinks he is independent. But moment to moment we understand how much a living entity is under the control. It's like when the rain comes, what can we do? Maybe we can have a raincoat, maybe we can have an umbrella, but who can stop the rains? Or who can stop the scorching heat of the sun? Or in the current times, the winter, the cold chillness of the winter. What control we have? Why we get this feeling of independence? Because we are able to make something in a smaller circle, in a small jurisdiction. Everybody gets one forum, everybody gets one tract of land or place where one gets to exercise this. For example, air conditioners. So in a small room, in a small hall, we have that control. Even if outside the temperature is 40 degrees, but inside we can make it 20 degrees. So it gives us that feeling, yes, we can become independent. So this is about air conditioners. Similarly, when we have a family, then there are sometimes hierarchy in an institution or even in a family. There is husband, wife, children. At least at least when children are there, the husband feels I'm the head of the family. Right? So everybody has some hierarchy and everybody has certain jurisdictions. And because we get that limited control, we tend to extrapolate it, we tend to extend it. Like Prabhupada says, when a living entity is flying in the aeroplane, of course, one thing he says, whether a driver in a car or a pilot in the plane, both one living entity is able to drive that. Similarly, the soul, size of the soul, whether it's in an ant's body or in an elephant's body, it's basically the 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. Very, very infinitesimal, very, very infinitely small, which Prabhupada calls as infinitesimal. So when the scientists have made so many inventions, when we're able to fly in the plane, and then Prabhupada says, if that is natural, why is it that you can't remain there? What we are inventing, whatever we are making, it's all for some temporary period of time. The moment fuel is gone, it just crashes down on the ground. So he says we have limited control. It's not that we have no control, but we have limited control. And Prabhupada says limited control means no control. Right? Limited control means no control. It's like saying, see, the car is mine, steering wheel I am moving, only thing is brake is not functioning. Limited control. Limited control means Prabhupada says no control. And that limited control gives us that feeling, that aura or the euphoria, gives us that feeling that yes, I'm also able to do it. Just like when children are given when the child is having a wrestling match with his own father, the father voluntarily agrees to lose the match with his own child, and the child thinks that because I drink milk, I have so much strength, now I can defeat my own father. The child actually is convinced. Is it not? Is the child making up? The child really feels, yes, I have defeated my father. And then the father says, if you drink milk every day, yes, you will be able to defeat me. The child actually feels that. Similarly, when we have limited control, sometimes one is a concept of limited control and other is material nature allows, let us play. No? Like Lord Narasimhadev was fighting with Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu was fighting, in between Narasimhadev would allow, okay, you can also punch me one or two. Two punches are okay. And then what happens? Demigods who are watching on the top, they get afraid. They are afraid. Narasimhadev could do something. How can he hit you? But the Lord sometimes plays with material nature. Now, similarly, the Lord facilitates for the living entity. Material nature lets loose. Let the living entity also feel, yes, I am also independent. And that is what is actually called as false. Because the living entity thinks like this is childish. It's a childish mood of thinking I am independent. And which Prabhu aptly says, the false attempt to become independent of the stringent laws of material nature is known as material advancement of experimental knowledge. So of course, the demons have tried it in the past, as we discussed, Ravana, Hiranyakashipu. In modern times, scientists always try to do something which is going against the material nature. But on a practical level, one is factually dependent on material nature, dependent on the Lord, dependent on fellow beings. So much dependence is there. You ask family people, we are sometimes dependent on neighbors. There is so much give and take. Or even if it's a community, there is so much give and take. Right? It's not one is isolated. Nobody lives in an island. Even if you live in an island, you ask for help somewhere. Some help is eventually required. So the factual dependence, when the living entity realizes, actually the Lord has made so much arrangements, whether it's in the ecology or whether it's in our body, on a bodily platform. Lord has made so much arrangements that the living entity cannot deny being dependent on the Lord. The very air that we are breathing, the water that we are drinking, Krishna says, Rasam Apsukonte, the taste of water. So we say, oh, it's just a taste of water. What about the water? What about water? Water is Krishna's energy. Bhumi Rapa Vayu Kham. Manobuddhi Vacha. The gross material energies and subtle energies as well as spiritual energy. Ultimately, energies is Krishna's energy, the Lord's energy. So much we are actually obliged to the Lord for making arrangement. Just imagine if the company allows us to go on a vacation, it's sponsored by the company. So then the payment is done by the company, the place where you stay, whatever food that you eat, it's all given by. Then one naturally feels, yes, this is not on my own. This is being given, it is being sponsored. Similarly, Krishna has sponsored our program in the material world. Krishna has sponsored our program in the material world. Why should he sponsor? Can you very easily say, you rascal, simply sit here in the spiritual world. But we have this desire to be independent. Ichha dvesha samudhyena dvandva mohena bharata. Ichha and dvesh, a desire to be independent, desire to be enjoyer. Why only God? So when that feeling creeps in, Krishna sponsors our program. Yes, you can go into this material world. At the same time, there is some arrangement done. Just like even if somebody is a criminal, when he's sent to the jail, prison house, there is an arrangement for him, 3 times or 2 times, whatever. Some food arrangement is there, some clothes is there, and whatever medicine they need. Things are arranged, whatever a person requires. Similarly, Krishna sponsors our program in the material world. We should not unnecessarily delay the program. Sponsored program. Sponsored. Sponsored is usually for a typical some tenure. Unfortunately, what happens? We keep increasing the tenure, life after life, life after life, expecting Krishna to continuously sponsoring our program in the material world. How unfortunate it is. Right? How many things that we utilize of this material world? How many things we are utilizing, which is all arranged by the Lord. Right? I mean, gross things are right from sunlight, water, air, and so many things are there. Then somebody may say, what about I am using my own energy? I am putting in hard efforts. If you say sunlight and water and all that's arranged by the Lord, what about the effort that I am putting? Then Krishna says, Balam Balavatam Chaham. I am the strength of the strong. Buddhir Buddhimatam Asmi. I am the intelligence of the intelligent. So whatever we claim of our own, it's mine. It's ultimately sanctioned, given by the Lord, arranged by the Lord. It's like a farmer, if he says, I am sowing the seed and I am putting water in it regularly, then he will say, okay, what about the sunlight? Yes, that's arranged by the Lord. What about you are putting water, but water is arranged by the Lord. So you may say, okay, water is arranged by the Lord, but I am still putting, but I am putting efforts. Right? Even the seed, can we create seed? Can we create drop of blood? And that's why we ask, O positive, universal donor. Right? Things which are arranged, which are made by the Lord, which are created by the Lord for the benefit of living entities. We may at the most try to replicate some things. Even if we happen to create water, so what? There is 71% water all the universe, so much oceans. Even if we happen to create one drop of water with so much pressure, volume, temperature, with so much energy, still what? Even if we happen to. And what to speak of seed, what to speak of the soul, And we may talk about replicating things, we may talk about from the living cell, we can also create test tube babies. So many things we can talk about. But material nature has made arrangements already. Already that arrangements are made. Even if they are able to copy, it's a very, very limited, minuscule number that we can actually create. But still, that feeling of creating something which it appears as if Lord has not made gives us, that feel or that euphoria. Nowadays they talk about artificial intelligence. Naturally, people don't have. They are trying to depend on artificial intelligence. But if we just look around, if we introspect, how much we can understand that one is dependent, practically dependent. Who arranges for food for an elephant? Recently went to a place, an elephant, it requires the amount of food that it requires. They said, if you want to sponsor one meal, 12,000 rupees. Not Brahman Bhojan, one elephant, one meal. And probably it eats 3 times. So, who sponsors, who arranges for the food for the elephant in the forests? And so, if anyone really wants to introspect, who arranges for the child's milk? How interesting, if you look at that even timing perspective, the mother gets the mother's milk at an appropriate time when the child is not arriving. Right? When the child is arriving, that is the time when the mother gets milk in her breasts. Is that something can be manipulated? Is that some control that one has? It comes at that time, at an appropriate time, it no more functions. Is that not arrangement of the Lord? How much we claim, how much the human being claims that we can make so many changes. Just by making some flyovers, we get so much feeling of, we are in control. So if we understand the actual dependence on the Lord, one will actually feel grateful and one will actually feel obliged. Obliged to how many things we are receiving. As when we are taking to spiritual life, we understand we should serve the Lord. But when we actually ponder, we will feel overwhelmed how much the Lord is serving us. And we have no choice but to accept all that arrangement, all that facility, all that sponsorship program of the Lord. Only thing what we can do is not delay, not ensure that let him continue to sponsor our future programs. Right? If that much we are able to do, then it's like even in a prison house, if somebody behaves nicely, his tenure can be reduced. So like that, once we are in this material world, but once we at least are aware of the Sambandha Gyan, we are not this body but spirit, soul, our connection with the Lord. Once we are aware of that connection and once we start acting on the basis of that connection, abhidaya, that is practice of devotional service, then our tenure in this material world can be reduced. At least let us not delay that process just because it is sponsored by the Lord. So it is very essential to understand, the living entity can be overwhelmed by the arrangements which are made by the Lord, and hence one has to learn to express gratitude for whatever one is receiving. The Lord has made immense arrangements, right from food to sunlight and water and everything else, and what to speak of people around us. How much help how much support we get from people around us, whether it's devotees, non-devotees, whatever we call, from fellow beings, how much support is available on that level as well, right? So the third aspect we were discussing is functional interdependence. So first we discussed about false independence, second is factual dependence, and third is functional interdependence. So living entity is born, when one is born, the child is practically helpless, literally dependent on everything. Everything means including, passing urine, including, taking care of cleanliness, including eating. So how dependent a child is, whether one is born in India or one is born in America, everywhere it's the same, right? Child by nature is dependent, even if it is human being or animals, any species typically. So functional interdependence means initially one is born dependent, but when we are growing, we are taught how to be independent, stand on our own legs, be responsible. From that dependence, one comes to the next level of independence. One is able to become independent, responsible enough, and eventually one factually understands that the truth in life is we are quite interdependent. There is interdependent means we may probably help somebody else, but at many times we also require help. We are dependent on each other because nobody lives in an island. As soon as we talk about a community, as soon as we talk about a society, as soon as we talk about association, one is interdependent. There is give and take. Of course, Rupa Goswami explains that how to enhance that loving relationships. Dadati prati grinati, kuhyama khati prachati, bhungte bhojayate chaiva, Shadvida Priti Lakshana. But association means give and take. When students are living in a hostel, somebody studies nicely and somebody is not so good in studies. Exchange. Whether it's journals, whether it's knowledge, all that. So this give and take is inevitable as long as we are staying, even if it is within a family, even in a small family, in a small temple, in a small society, or in a nation, anywhere, there is this give and take, which is called as interdependence. So here I would like to give a disclaimer when you are talking about cultivating dependence on the Lord. Cultivating dependence on the Lord does not mean I will not act and I will only depend on the Lord. Many times this feeling creeps in devotees. अब तो हम भक्ति में आ गए. Now whatever has to be done, Lord will do it. If Lord wants, I will go for good distribution. If Lord wants, I will study further. You basically try just put the entire onus on Lord. And something wrong happens, easy to point out. And as soon as we get some credit, caller is there. So it's easy to point out to the Lord, and we try to put the onus on the Lord, saying that we are dependent. This is also a false notion. Because the Lord, when we're talking about interdependence, the Lord says, I have made arrangements, but utilize that. Arrangements are made, but utilize it. How to utilize it? When Krishna says, Buddhi Buddhimata Vasmi, I am the intelligence of the strong or intelligence of the intelligent, what does it mean? Utilize our intelligence for those who are in spiritual life. So how to enhance spiritual life? How to ensure we can get, how to ensure we can connect more people to Krishna consciousness? Utilize the intelligence. Krishna has made arrangement, but if we don't utilize and say, why Lord is not making? What is the underlying meaning?
Lord is at fault.
Lord is at fault. Or why Lord is not serving me? Krishna is saying, I have made arrangements. Utilize it. It's like nowadays they call it as DIY, do it yourself kit. Kit is kept, take it and, whether it's a jigsaw puzzle or whatever, something is there, take it and do it. Everything is arranged. But we say, no, it's arranged, but it is still not the full picture. Somebody has to do it. If you still want Lord only to come and do that remaining part also, then how is it a DIY? How is it a do it yourself? Krishna is saying, I have made arrangements for it, but we have to still do Nimitta Matra Bhava Sabyasachi. Krishna is showing Arjuna, you see, all the Kauravas are going to enter into the mouth of the universal form, into the fire. But you still have to fight. Arjuna could have said, if it's so easy, I'll sleep on the chariot. You take care. If this is the end anyways. No, but Krishna is very particular. Nimitta Matra Bhava. Even if we say Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, yes, Krishna consciousness is going to be victorious. But still it requires an army. Still it requires some soldiers. And if we take part in it, we get the glory. Somebody else takes part, somebody else will get the glory. Krishna consciousness is going to be victorious. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. If we say it's all arranged, it's arranged, but whether we want to take advantage of it, that is our choice. That is our free will. So Krishna is very clear and explicit in telling Arjuna, Nimitta Matra Bhava Sarvasachi, that you become an instrument. Not that just because I've made some arrangements, but that still has to. It's like saying, I've given the ingredients. If you want to make chapatis, atta is there, water is there, salt is there, fire is there, but one still has to take the ingredients and put one's efforts and intelligence to make the final product, and offer it to the Lord. Right? So Lord has made arrangements, ingredients are available, but one has to still utilize. And that is why Srila Prabhupada says, after we endeavor, we express dependence and expect grace. Means after our endeavor. Without endeavor, when we depend on the Lord, that is something like a surgery. You don't want to put in, it's like easy life. No, Krishna will take care. Yes, Krishna will take care, provided we also put in our efforts. Krishna will take care, provided we also put in our efforts. If Krishna only has to take care, then what is our role? Because what we are expecting is like, what is that? Sadhana, Kripa Siddha. Just merciful, only by mercy. I will go back to Godhead only by mercy. I am a mercy case. Definitely, without mercy, one cannot go back to Godhead. But one has to attract that mercy. One has to do something to attract the mercy. No doubt everybody requires mercy to go back to Godhead. But our efforts have to attract the mercy of the Lord. So Prabhupada says, a very beautiful statement, the highest achievement of perfect civilization is work with valor. Highest achievement of perfect civilization is work with valor, but at the same time depend completely on the Lord. Work with valor, but simultaneously depend completely on the Lord. And Prabhupada gives the example of Pandavas. Pandavas were ideal executors of the standard of civilization. Pandavas were ideal executors of this standard of civilization. That means what? Work with valor and simultaneously depend on the Lord. If one only depends on the Lord, then it is expecting too much mercy. And if one puts too much endeavor, which usually materialistic people do, just depend on their own endeavors, without mercy, it's like, it's not sanctioned, it's not approved. One needs a combination, endeavor as well as mercy. So Prabhupada says the highest achievement of perfect civilization is to work with valor, but at the same time depend completely on the Lord. And Prabhupada gives the example of Pandavas as the ideal examples of this particular state. So, in terms of understanding how Krishna surely protects, Avashya Rakshite Krishna, Rakshishyate iti Vishwaso. So, as we discussed, Krishna has made so many arrangements that itself is a sign that he wants to protect. When the government makes so many arrangements in the prison house, it shows that in spite of the person being a criminal, government still cares for them. Still cares for them does not mean there should be air conditioner in the prison house. Right? Still cares for them, but it is proportional. They have done some mistake. It's a place of reformation. And that is why we find this material world is dukhalaya vasashvatam. You may feel, banaya to banaya, but aisa kyun banaya? Krishna has made this material world, but why like this? It would have been a little more better. It should have been a little more comfortable. Yeah, this is a place for reformation. This is not a place to settle comfortably. That's why the Lord has made, there is always, you will find that in this material world. Something or other does not work. Something or other will not work. There is always will remain to keep reminding us we are in this material world. When you go to Vaikuntha, then there is no anxiety. As long as we are here, there is enough reasons to be anxiety ridden. The good thing we can do is we can have anxiety for the Lord. Then that anxiety is also purifying. Otherwise, that anxiety is simply wasted. in the material world, upadrata. Upadrata. One is always disturbed, continuously disturbed in this material world. People are not able to even take, be peaceful in the traffic jam. Right? As soon as you're stuck in the traffic jam, people are irritated. Right? Unless we know how to utilize the time, it's very natural. One will get irritated, one will get disturbed. And by nature, material world is designed in such a way, upadrata. Usually, people are quite disturbed always. So, Krishna surely protects devotees, in one sense, everybody, but particularly devotees. In one sense, Prabhu, Krishna says, Samaham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyosti na priya. In that very same breath, in that very same shloka, Krishna says, Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktiya. One who is practicing devotional service, then I am clear. Just the first two lines is saying, Name dveshyosti na priya. But still, and it's very natural. Prabhupada actually says that. It's like a government officer may do some welfare work for the society, but for his own children, he'll be naturally doing something more. Right? It is very natural. Similarly, for the Lord, he does something for the common people, makes some common arrangements. But for his devotees, Krishna will definitely go beyond. Krishna will do something much more for his devotees. And Krishna surely protects. Krishna surely protects. So this we have to also understand from two perspectives. Sometimes Krishna protects the consciousness, and sometimes Krishna also protects the body. But what Krishna surely protects? Consciousness, which is a very hope-giving and solacing. Protects the consciousness because that is what continues in the next life. Right? When the soul is transmigrated to the next body, along with the mind intelligence, so the previous desires, so Krishna is protecting the consciousness, and that is a great benediction from Bharat Maharaj to the deer to Jada Bharat. Krishna ensured the consciousness is protected, it is continued, and that's a great solace for the living entity. And sometimes Krishna may also protect the body. But unfortunately, the conditioned soul is more worried about protection of the body. Why did Abhimanyu die? Why did Abhimanyu die? You see Krishna's way. Krishna did not protect his own sister's son. And conditioned soul feels, why my uncle was not protected? Why my father or why I was not protected? Krishna did not protect, physically, his own sister's son, Abhimanyu. But Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj while he was in the womb of his mother Uttara, for the Pandavas' lineage. This actually goes to show how much Krishna extends for his devotees. But at the same time, what Krishna actually protects is the consciousness, and sometimes the body also will be protected. So particularly when Abhimanyu died, the Pandava, particularly Yudhishthira Maharaj was feeling very remorseful because he was the one who had told Abhimanyu that if you know how to enter the Chakravyuh, you can go in, and right behind you we will come. And of course they were very confident of doing that, but unfortunately Jayadratha had a benediction by Lord Shiva that he asked for a benediction that he wanted to defeat the Pandavas. Lord Shiva said that is not possible because they are protected by Krishna. So I cannot grant you this benediction. But Lord Shiva said, one day you will be able to defend them. One day you will be able to obstruct them. So that is how this particular day, he was able to stand like a wall. As soon as Abhimanyu entered the Chakravyuh, and then he came in between, and the Pandavas were not able to enter further. Yudhishthira Maharaj and others. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was even feeling even more remorse. It's like if you send your own son, you at least take responsibility and whatever happens, but you are sending your brother's son. And he was, you know how Yudhishthira Maharaj is. At the end of the war, he felt responsible for all the massacre. What to speak of when Abhimanyu had been sort of trapped. So Abhimanyu was killed at the end of the day. Yudhishthira Maharaj really felt very remorseful. He was not able to face Arjuna. He was not able to even give that news. And Arjuna understood by looking at the despondent situation, nobody is welcoming him and there's nobody inviting him, and he used to wait for Abhimanyu to come and discuss about the things which happened in the war. So when he found all these things put together, he understood Abhimanyu is no more, and he inquired, how is it that you allowed him? How is it that you allowed him to enter inside? So that's how eventually Arjuna takes a vow. If Jayadratha was the main person to hold him back, because of which the Pandavas were not able to enter inside, I will take a vow that by tomorrow's sunset, if I don't kill Jayadratha, let me get all the sins. Actually, it makes a long list of sins. Let me get all the sins that one gets for cheating a Brahmana, one gets for looting somebody, or putting fire to someone's house, or misbehaving with the guru's wife. It's like so many things said in a detail. At the end, he also says, if I don't kill him by tomorrow's sunset, I will enter into fire. So living it, he says like this, and then he is peaceful. Now, Krishna has to worry. Dependent on the Lord. Krishna says, "Thoda push to liya hota." We could have made it 2 days instead of tomorrow. What is the big deal in tomorrow's sunset? We could do 3 days, 2 days. Anyways, Arjuna has made a promise. Krishna is looking how to arrange, how to ensure things happen. And Krishna is not sleeping in the whole night. He's worried how to do it. And they actually have calls, they actually have a assembly to discuss next day morning and all that. So Krishna makes so much arrangement, of course, and eventually we see from the Kaurava side, they had already made arrangement. As soon as they came to know tomorrow sunset, if Arjuna does not kill Jayadratha, he is going to enter into fire. Duryodhana was jumping in air. He was already celebrating. It's like he was anyway not bothered about Jayadratha. Jayadratha actually said, I'll wind up, I'll go back to my kingdom. I don't want to fight Arjuna. First of all, who will stand against Arjuna? And now Arjuna is in this ferocious mood. It's like, Lord coming as Narsimhadev. So Arjuna in this fiery mood, who is going to face him? I am packing up, I am going to my kingdom. Duryodhana says, wait. Like, if you are there, we will ensure that Arjuna cannot even reach you. So he spoke to Dronacharya, and they said, we will have such a arrangement and so many obstacles in between. Arjuna will not even be able to see you, what to speak of killing you. So Jayadratha was a little hesitant, but somehow he has been part of Duryodhana's army, and Duryodhana convinced him. And Duryodhana also felt possibly Jayadratha may be killed. But anyways, he didn't care about it. Dronacharya was sure Jayadratha, if Arjuna has taken this vow, and because Krishna is with him, Jayadratha is surely gone. But I have to please Duryodhana. I have to make some arrangement. And he really did. a great arrangement in order to put so many obstacles to ensure Arjuna doesn't reach there. But we see Krishna's beautiful intervention. If you look at the entire episode, there's hardly much time to discuss on that, but the beautiful, the way Arjuna expressed his valor and how Krishna supported him. In between, even Krishna was injured. In between, even the horses were injured. In between, they took break also. They took break where the horses were made to drink water. The arrows were removed from the horses. There was a break time where Arjuna was fighting without the chariot on the ground directly, and it was all continuous. There was no break time. Continuous it was going on, and they had to still reach. And in between, Dronacharya would come. Twice he came in between. Arjuna had to fight with Dronacharya. So basically, the entire thing was to delay. If he does not reach Jayadratha, then Arjuna is going to enter into fire. They had more faith in Arjuna's promise. He will keep his word. So they were like already sort of celebrating. And so their whole goal was just to delay. So Dronacharya came in between, and so many other fighters, army people came to somehow or other fight with Arjuna and try to delay the process. So in between, so many things happened. Finally, even it was just like now we are reaching and now we are seeing Jayadratha, and suddenly the sun sets, and everybody is like ecstatic, and usually Duryodhana would ask, when is the sun going to set? It's like sometimes when the war is happening, too much armies are dying on their side. When will the sun set? And they're looking at like that. And here now when the sun is setting, they're like started celebrating, which basically means even the walls opposite, whatever people were standing in between, even Jayadratha started dancing, celebrating, like, the sun has already set. Of course, it was Krishna's arrangement, and as soon as he waved his hand, the cloud dispersed, and the sun shone in its full glory. And Krishna says, here is Jayadratha, and here is the sun. Shoot it. And you see how much more arrangement Krishna did. If his head would have just bursted, fell on the ground, even Arjuna would have left his body. Krishna, so much effort, Vedam samaditani, bhavishyanache, vartamanani Arjuna, bhavishyanache bhutani. Krishna knows the past history. Okay, so the head has to go to his father's lap, and who is performing the process somewhere else. With one arrow, both son and father going back home back to God. Krishna ensured all that. Krishna did so much arrangements. Krishna surely protects. Of course, as I said, one is about consciousness, which is more important, and sometimes even on a bodily level. But Arjuna was, of course, special because Krishna says, Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. He is my devotee as well as he is my friend. And they actually went so much overwhelmed. They were actually so much overwhelmed by Krishna's protection. And Krishna was so much overwhelmed by the devotion of the Pandavas. So it was a natural reciprocation. That is definitely there. So finally talking about the tips to understand in terms of cultivating dependence on the Lord. So some 7-8 points I mentioned, just I will try to mention it in brief. One is about a general awareness that padam padam yat vipadam natesham. There is danger at every step. This is factual, whether one believes it or not. It's like atheist may say, I don't believe in God. Atheist may say that, but he cannot say, I don't believe in diseases. I don't believe in death. And there are certain things which one cannot avoid. It's very clearly visible. Similarly, padam padam yat vipadam natesham, there is danger at every step. One has to have that awareness, particularly for practicing sadhakas. There is danger at every step. This does not mean one becomes paranoid, then I cannot even walk normally. But this is to remind us that life is not going to be very smooth. There is going to be obstacles in between. And when we face obstacles in between, we have to show Krishna that we are still ready to go ahead. We are still ready to proceed ahead. Those who stop at obstacles show their weak determination. But when we see obstacles and say, yes, I still want to continue, these are like tests which are put at various intersections, various intermediate positions, landmarks, to ensure that yes, we are making some progress. So one is an awareness of there is a danger at every step. One has to reflect, in terms of how we may put our endeavors, but still Lord has to give His grace, sanction. A student may study throughout the semester, but as Krishna says, Matta Smritir Jnana Apohanam. Some students say, I studied so much, but I don't know, as soon as I enter the exam hall, I don't know what happens, it becomes blank. Matta Smritir Jnana Apohanam cha. Sometimes remembrance, forgetfulness, everything comes from the Lord. And similarly, as we discussed, Buddhi Madhavasmi is the strength of the strong, intelligence of the intelligent. So basically, all these things are given by the Lord. How can we not cultivate dependence on the Lord? Because as Prabhupada says, don't be proud of borrowed plumes. It's given to us, as we are discussing, sponsored program. How can we be proud of that? How can we be claiming that I'm independent? So all these things are provided by the Lord. And very essential factor is that the living entity, again the awareness of how small we are. The living entity, 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. But when we get angry, we can shout at the top of our lungs. How small, in minuscule or infinitesimal we are, and how great the Lord is. Just that awareness of how small we are and how great the Lord is, and how much the Lord has made arrangements for even these small living entities. And then if we get into more details, how the Lord comes in every species, even if it is not a human species. That is too much overwhelming in terms of how much the Lord extends. Next is to have that understanding of the difference between Anath and Sanath. Those who are orphans. Orphans are those who don't have any, they say no parents, nobody to take care. But Sanath means he is under the protection of someone, right? Bhavantam evanucharam nirantaram. Yoganacharya used to pray this, Kadaham aikantika nitya kinkara. Used to pray that when will I be able to serve eternally, become an eternal servant? Kadaham aikantika nitya kinkara. Praharshayishyami sanata jivita. When will I become joyful? Praharshayishyami. Knowing that I am in the right place, I am serving the Lord, I am in the right protection. Praharshayishyami sanata jivita. Even a dog who has a master has a collar in his neck and some small errands he has to do, get the newspaper, get the ball, something here and there. And the master takes him for a walk, and so many dog biscuits and so many things he gets. Small errands he does and he is protected. But a dog who doesn't have that collar in his neck, then municipality van is waiting just to come and pick up. So that knowing awareness of the difference between Anath and Sanath. One who is an orphan, he just like a dog thinks this treat is mine. So many people have their houses there, but he thinks this treat is mine. But a person who is Anath gets that false feeling of independence. But one who is Anath actually experiences the protection. One who is Sanath, one who is under the protection, he experiences that protection, for which he agrees to do some small errands here and there. Similarly, some services that we are doing here and there is a part and parcel. Small things that we are doing But what we are actually getting overall is that satisfaction and that solace of protection by the Lord. Right? And if we really want to experience more dependence, this may or may not be practical, but if we are more closer to material nature, it is more helpful to be dependent. It is more helpful to feel that dependence. Close to material nature means close to farms, close to nature. Right? That means the farmer knows how much he is dependent on the rains, how much he is dependent on the sunlight. He close to nature. Close to nature, avoiding gadgets, avoiding machines. Then one feels close, more dependence. The more we use machines, the more we use gadgets, the more we stay in city. What happens? Things are कर लो दुनिया मुट्ठी में. Things are available in our hands, and with just some press of a button, things are happening immediately. So that we are not able to look at that larger picture. What is happening behind these scenes? But those who are close to nature, away from machines and gadgets, have, at least I am saying, a potential to have more feeling of a dependence. Another essential aspect is, I'll end with just like 2 minutes, is if we get out of comfort zone, it will help to become more dependent. When we are in comfort zone, that means you know what is to be done. It's like when you go to the washroom, in your own house. Then you know where is the toothbrush, where is the paste, and where is, so everything is arranged, right? Once the setup is done. But you go for a yatra, then bag like pack karna hai, and I forgot my toothbrush, I forgot my tomcha, and many other things we forget whatever here and there. So when we are in our own place, comfort zone, it's very easy to be feeling of dependence, feeling of independence. So when we move out of comfort zone, that means when we take up some challenges, that is when we feel, oh, how can I do this? If we keep lifting 5 kgs of weight every day, that will neither increase the muscles nor give us a challenge. But when we keep increasing the weight, then muscle also grows, we also get some confidence. उठा सकता हूँ. So if we get a little bit out of our comfort zone, particularly highlighting these two, can give that potential feeling of dependence. Anybody who goes for a book distribution, we go, nobody feels confident, आज तो मैं 50 कर जाऊँ. We are praying to Prabhupada, please. Please. I'm just standing there, send somebody. Right? You know how much dependent one has to be when we do these kind of services, or even if it is preaching sometimes. I don't know how to speak, what to speak. Something has to come out. So, of course, after we do our endeavor, not that we are completely dependent on the Lord. Whatever you want, you can speak through me. We have to do our part of our valor and then depend on the Lord. And one last final thing is the Lord can empower the living entity and can also disempower. Empower, in fact, living is like inflated, air in the balloon, inflated and deflated. So living entity can be empowered as well as disempowered. And that Prabhupada used to explain that Punar Mushika Bhava. So one is whatever one is able to do, it's ultimately by the mercy of the Acharyas, mercy of the Parampara. And of course, our sincerity, whatever one shows, that is definitely has its credit. But as we discussed, it's endeavor and mercy. Both have to go hand in hand. So that empowerment and simultaneously the Lord can also disempower. So when we know this, then one is naturally dependent on the Lord. Today I am in this position, tomorrow it can be a different position. Arjuna, when he was able to single-handedly defeat the entire Kaurava army, single-handedly able to defeat entire Kaurava army. When Krishna left this planet, and that time he was defeated by infidel coward boys. Same Arjuna. Soham Rathi. He says, Tadvai Dhanush Tad Ishava Sarato Hayaste. Same arrow, same chariot, same horses, and the same Arjuna, unto whom many kings would submit themselves. Same Arjuna. And still, Ishariktam. As soon as Krishna left, it's like I am not even able to defeat infidel coward men. So that was the condition. So that means sometimes the living entity is empowered, and at certain times the living entity may be disempowered based on time, place, circumstances, based on certain lessons, so many factors. But knowing this, that it will ensure, it will help one to be dependent on the Lord. Today what we have is ultimately, as Prabhupada says, borrowed blooms. We have got something, we have been equipped, we have been given so many things. And if you utilize it nicely, Krishna will even give more. Krishna will give more for preaching, Krishna will give more for expanding the mission. But we have to be in the right frame of mind, frame of consciousness, and then Krishna will definitely, surely protect. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you very much. Anybody has anything? Any comments?
While Draupadi was in that sabha, that Krishna gave him so much sari, and
Draupadi.
she was independent to Krishna. While in this world, someone is raped, she is also dependent with God. What God does not help directly.
You are saying how Krishna helped Draupadi, does he not help other living entities?
Actually, this is not my question. This is my colleague's question. Yesterday, I did not answer him.
A disclaimer. How Krishna is protecting Draupadi, does Krishna not protect the other living entities in a similar fashion? That is, if you come for tomorrow's session at ICC, there is a Bhagavatam class tomorrow at ICC. There I am talking about Krishna's proportionate protection. So, proportionate means it's Yathama Prabhupada. What Draupadi did, how much devotion she expressed, and what is Draupadi's contribution, what is Draupadi's role. In fact, Krishna treated Draupadi like his own sister. In fact, she also has one of the names as Krishna. The relation that she has is very unique. She was born from fire, and so there is so much glory to the personality of Draupadi. And even in that, Krishna still tested, right? He waited till she finally raised both hands. Somebody can ask about that, rather than comparing if Krishna can protect. Then it's like asking if Krishna can protect Parikshit Maharaj in the womb, then why can't he protect us? Right? It's the same thing. So as I mentioned, one is Krishna protects the consciousness part. The body, usually, we have to understand Krishna leaves it to the material nature. It's like, the common people are usually directly under the hands of material nature. That is a default setting. For some souls, Krishna takes personal charge. So for whom will he take personal charge? That is the question we have to ask. That means, it's like saying, why doesn't Prime Minister come to my house for a lunch? He goes to so many places. Why doesn't he come to my house? So we have to, the question is, who are you? Who are you? And somebody may say, how dare you ask this question? Right? When Krishna asked the clothes from the washerman told the same statements to Krishna. Washerman said, this clothes belong to Kamsa. How dare you ask it? Washerman told Krishna. It should have been other way around. Isn't it? Krishna has the right to ask like that. Similarly, that basically it talks about ignorance. As we discussed, how much protection Krishna has already made, even for the criminals, even for those who have rebelled against him. For the rebellious souls, Krishna has made so many arrangements. But people want direct protection. People want personal Bhagavad Gita. Krishna has to come in my house and tell me 700 verses. Then only I will accept. So people want customized personal copies. That is a little too much to ask for. That's why unless we understand what all Krishna has made arrangements for us, we will be ashamed to even ask this. That's why you also made a statement. It's not my question. Isn't it? But people expect this. So we have to say that on a shorter part, it's basically the general arrangement is by material nature. Krishna does not directly intervene in each person's what is happening. It's like there is an owner of the factory, there is a manager. If you are working as an employee for your day, manage your affairs, I want to have leave. You don't have to approach the owner for it. Your manager is appointed for it. Right? Similarly, material nature looks into the daily affairs. That is as per laws of karma. And that is stringent laws of material nature. But for some, owner will intervene directly. If you have a connection with the owner, he will intervene. So then the question should be, how can I connect with the owner? Then we can have further courses. Right?
Like, so in continuing to this only, whom will like Krishna protect and in terms of external, so we see like case of Bharat Maharaj, like the law acted because he was thinking, but Prabhupada writes there like it is not out of karma what he got, because a general deer
About Bharat Maharaj.
like he became deer. Prabhupada writes that it is not out of karma, so that means Krishna intervened there.
Otherwise, he will not be in the pages of Bhagavatam. If it was karma intervention, he would not be in the pages of Bhagavatam.
So the mistake was due to his neglect or like that, his own past samskaras, whatever. But then Krishna intervened in the because of his bhakti.
Yeah, we also have to look at from multiple perspectives. One, it's like there are some human lessons and there are some direct intervention by the Lord. Sometimes it is both. So on his personal level, he did that quote unquote mistake of neglect. He too much compassion on the deer at the cost of neglecting his sadhana. Right? Over compassion for the deer at the cost of neglecting his sadhana. And it costed him a lot. From bhava, one less than prem, 8th stage. Just one less than prem. From there, apparently, he had to have 2 more lives. And as Jada Bharat, he didn't want to take chance. This is hard to do. But at the same time, it can also be understood as Krishna's way of teaching. Just like Parikshit Maharaj, he put a dead snake around Shankar Rishi's neck. So one is, yes, he also made some mistake. But it is also sometimes seen as Lord's arrangement. Because Bhagavatam has to come and it's like the Lord also looks for some instruments. And it's simultaneously arrangement of the Lord as well. So, small mistake, but then of course he had to pay, like Bharat Maharaj had to pay a heavy price for it. So definitely we should not take things like on a karma platform, because these are not ordinary people that we are talking about. Otherwise they will not be in the pages of Bhagavad. There's some lessons for, and even about his devotion, it's explained very much in the way about his renunciation. Like as if a person passes stool and leaves. See, when we don't have something, we can say, I can give up. Once we have, there is so much attachment it develops. So, to have palace and chariots and so many things, and then giving up everything, all the kingdoms, Bharat Maharaj. So that's something very great. And not just on the renunciation part, even devotion part. Otherwise, he's considered to be on the stage of bhava. Very, very exalted. So, what is your exact?
So my question was like, in his case, like if Draupadi's case, Krishna like directly intervened. And in case of Arjuna also, we saw like Krishna, like Arjuna just spontaneously expressed his desire, and Krishna made all that arrangement to protect his body also and everything. But in case of Bharat Maharaj, like also Krishna intervened. So like in how to understand like which case Krishna will intervene, how much?
That is not that is not as per our plan, that is as per Krishna's plan. And every case is going to be different only. If everything is same, then we'll say so much monotonous in Krishna's Leela. In Krishna Leela, every Leela is different. So every case, for example, Ajamil. Then somebody may say Ajamil had only second chance, but Bharat Maharaj had third chance. How many chances we are going to have? We should be more worried about. We should not be worried about whether Krishna will protect. We should be worried whether will I act accordingly, will I act appropriately so that Krishna will protect. The question should not be whether Krishna will protect, because Krishna says, what does he say? Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sampapepyo sarva papepyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Lord Varadaraj has that on his hands, lotus hands. Ma suchaha, do not fear. So our question should not be whether Krishna will protect. Our question should be, can I act appropriately so that Krishna feels like protecting me? Otherwise, material nature, usual routine work is going on. Krishna will only intervene for specific cases as per one's devotee. Krishna does say, Yegathama Prapatante. And it's not to say that only great devotees Krishna will protect and small devotees Krishna is Krishna can do everything. And Krishna cares for every living entity. And Krishna can reciprocate with every living entity. But we should not be expecting having, big dreams, Krishna, it's like, when Prahlad Maharaj is put from the mountain, Krishna is keeping his lotus hand, catching it. So at least if I'm thrown from the third floor. Let me test whether Krishna protects me. If he makes some foolish attempts like that, Krishna will say, are you doubting my protection? And Krishna says, this is not what I claim to be protection. Not that we take an extra risk and say, I was just testing if you come or not. No, it should not be like that. So our question should not be whether Krishna will protect. Our question should be Krishna will surely protect, because Krishna has given a promise. In fact, Krishna says to Arjuna, Kaunteya pratijanahi name bhakta pranashyati. Krishna says, if I tell myself, somebody will still doubt. Because Krishna can change, Krishna can do so many things. But Krishna is telling Arjuna, you proclaim boldly, Kaunteya pratijanahi name bhakta pranashyati. So we should not have the question whether Krishna will protect, but our appropriate question is, will I be able to act appropriately to attract Krishna's protection? And if we are practicing sadhakas, if we are rightly situated, Krishna will. That much we can. Krishna is not discriminating between small devotee and a big devotee. Initiated devotee, non-initiated devotee. 1 decade devotee, 2 decade devotee. Krishna can arrange for all. All is what is required is endeavor from our side, sincerity from our side. Krishna is more than happy to. Krishna's only business is to serve his devotees. We feel overwhelmed when we know more about Krishna. His only business is to serve devotees. And we are wondering, will he do it something for me? It's like a child who asks the parents, tomorrow will I get milk? It's like that. I'm not trying to exaggerate, that's a factual situation. But being a child will ask. He doesn't know the father is having tough time and he's thinking, job bhi gaya hai, abhi kya karu? He's thinking how to make 2 ends meet. But whatever happens, he knows I have to do something. Child doesn't have that anxiety, doesn't need to have that anxiety. Child should only, if I remain in the family, I will get protection.
We should also not worry about how he will protect. Like Krishna will do the need. We should do our.
Give room for some adventure. Don't dictate to Krishna how he should act. It's like every film, actor enters differently. Sometimes he comes from this door, sometimes he comes from that door, sometimes ऊपर से आते हैं. थोड़ा सा excitement. How Krishna will do that is his choice. He has unlimited ways. Things like if Krishna has to come as an avatar, as a Varaha, he comes through Brahma's nostrils. ये किया है ऐसे तो ऊपर से आया है साइड से आया है and as Narasimha he can come from a pillar. Let's not dictate how Krishna should come and how Krishna should protect. That is his lookout. Okay? Hope I am not offended. I am just trying to explain. Yes, true. Is it okay? Time?
Session.
The last question.
Don't you like if Krishna wants, you can save him because he is a warrior, and Balram Maharaj given his training to Abhimanyu, so he is closely attached to Abhimanyu. But if he wants, he can save now. Is there any reason he didn't save?
Is there any specific reason why Krishna did not protect Abhimanyu? Yeah, because Abhimanyu had to go back ugly. I'm not joking. Yeah, it's a fact. He was a 16-year-old boy, youth. I'm not very sure of exactly. You remember the past? Because it was like moon connected to moon god's son. And it's like a tenure, they had to, just like Bhishma Dev had a Ichha Mrityu, but then there were other Vasus who were like Ganga's sons, who as soon as they are about to come to the material world and then she is killing Mother Ganges. So they had a very less tenure, so they had to go back fast. But Bhishma Dev had a longer tenure. He was the one who was out of the 8 Vasus. He was the one who was responsible for laughing or ridiculing. So others were given solace, saying that you just had to touch the material world and come back. So they just were in the womb and they were killed in the womb itself. Similarly for Abhimanyu, there is a past that he was moon god's son, or not sure of the exact details, but like 16 years he did and he had to go back soon. So what happens that when we see just in the material world, we are not able to understand what is happening here. But if we look at the larger picture, it's like they are waiting. Why time ho gaya and you are still not back there. So we are not able to understand what happened, but basically it is he left from here to join the either heavenly planets or the spiritual world, wherever they belong to. So Krishna wants, he can do everything. Krishna wants, he doesn't even have to send the conditioned souls to the material world. We can say, na, Krishna can do everything. Why Krishna had to send us to this material world? Krishna can do, but Krishna gives us that free will. Krishna respects our free will and sponsors our program in the material world. So for Abhimanyu, I didn't know because there is a specific past. Each case has a specific history, and based on that, he allowed. So and from a devotional perspective, it is much more overwhelming. Krishna did not protect his own sister's son, but he protected his devotee's son as Parikshit. Thank you all very much. Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.